Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Bally's Sportsbook and Casino, downtown Baton Rouge, welcome to the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Max Gotro, and Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Michael Cobble from WBRZ was going to be with us today. He had some personal business come up. We hope to have him with us tomorrow or possibly next week. But we'll be all right. Hold down the fort here. Bruce Marshall will be with us from ACC Media Days a little bit later on in today's show. Colucci from Vegas as they get ready for the World Cup final. We'll talk to Dwayne in his normal Thursday spot. We're here at Bally's where they're doing a little bit of remodeling here, moving some of the properties around here. We're near the sports book where they're rearranging things, just kind of sprucing things up a little bit. So that's pretty cool. It's part of the Sizzling Summer here where they're going to give you a chance to win pieces of $100,000 in cash throughout the summer here at Bally's, and a great place to come in and watch the games. Of course, the World Cup final on Saturday, and we now know will be Spain and Argentina because Argentina pulled another one out of you-know-where yesterday, Max, for the umpteenth time in this tournament. They go into the latter stages of a match with a deficit and just kind of put on a blitz. England had the lead at 1-0 into the 86th minute of this thing, and not only did they tie it late, but they get the winner in extra time and kind of stun England. It all happened over the course of less than 7 minutes, and Argentina's going back to the final. The only thing so sitting there watching it and sort of being lulled to, I don't want to say lulled to sleep, but feeling like, did Argentina have another one of these in them? I'm watching, me and Tracy were watching yesterday, and I'm like, they're going to park the bus in front of the goal. It's going to be really hard for Argentina to score. And yet, and they've seen them do this before, probably the most notable to Egypt, the most unlikely maybe, 2 goals down. And they did it again. I watched it happen. I went back and watched the highlights again, and I'm still not sure how it happened all in that quick of a manner. So you tell me. You were watching this yesterday, and it looked to although you picked England, I thought England would win as well, that Argentina was out of miracles. But nope, more messy, at least for one more match.
Yeah, it's interesting. Chris the Bear Felica, you know him from, used to be on College Game Day, works with Fox now. He compared this Argentinian team to 2024 Kansas City, the Chiefs. And I agree a ton with that. They are not doing it by wowing anyone. Their margin of victory a lot of times is very slim. They are accused of having favorable whistles. Some people will say it's rigged, whatnot. That's egregious. But, they've had some favorable calls that have gone their way in this tournament. And there's an inevitability about Mahomes, Messi, whatever. It just seems like they're going to come in down the stretch. And I think it's a great comparison. Now we'll see in the World Cup final, does their season end the same way where, they got blown out by the Eagles. But I think we're bearing the lead a little bit here. Messi and Argentina deserve a ton of credit. The way that they've done it all tournament long, as you mentioned. This is as much England losing it as Argentina winning it. And this is about setup. This is about mentality, and this is about coaching. And one of the reasons I gave out England yesterday is I thought they had the coaching advantage. And Thomas Tuchel he is coached at the highest level of many European leagues. And he has some blunders over the years, but for the most part, he's a very well-respected manager. But he is taking a lot of criticism this morning, and to me, rightfully so. I can't really do this, I can't go contrarian on this. Like, he absolutely was maybe the biggest reason that England ended up losing this match. To sit back defensively for as long as they did And you could say, oh, well, is it the players or the coach? Was the mentality? Did they turn it off? Was the goal a bad thing for them where they just changed, they went back into their shell, and they weren't so offensively driven? Certainly, but I think this was coming from the coach when you look at their substitutions, which were very defensive-minded. They're subbing on guys to play defensively. They are playing a back line of 6 players and just hoping if we park the bus that they don't score. Now, Argentina's strength is when they're in possession at scoring. They're not as much a team that's going to do it on the counterattack or whatnot. And England, for what we saw at the very beginning of the second half, the first half is abysmal. We'll just chalk that off. It was rough. It was ugly. It was nothing to write home about. But the second half, when it opened
out
up,
of each other. That's my layman's view. Is they beat the crap
it was
out
ugly.
of each other.
It was an ugly game. It was like watching, I don't know, Sunbelt football or something. There was not a whole lot of intrigue about it.
I was going to say wrestling, but go ahead.
Okay, so we'll take Sunbelt football anytime. But I think England, if they just kept going forward and kept challenging, because they've got talented players. Harry Kane didn't have the best tournament. Jude Bellingham's been outstanding. But their mindset changed to where they wanted to defend and defend and defend. And they could do that, understandably so, against Mexico. And even though that was a hell of an environment they were up against, they were down to 10 men. So that was pretty much the only choice you have, is to kind of sit back defensively, because you aren't going to be able to challenge going forward and leave yourself exposed at the back with one less guy on the field. But in this instance, to go 40 minutes and just concede the ball to Argentina, from the time that England scored to go up 1-0 to the time that they lost the lead and ended up losing to go down 2-1, from that time, I don't know if I've ever seen a team of this skill level put up the stat. They had possession of the ball 12% of the time. They were giving up the ball voluntarily to Argentina and said, we don't think we can beat you. And this is what Argentina does. This is malpractice by Thomas Tuchel, and that's why England, it's not coming home. They're going home.
All that said, and again, while I've learned a lot over the last month, I'm still a soccer novice. Did this not come 4 minutes away from working? Plus the extra time?
Didn't it seem inevitable, though? I mean, how many times were they off the woodwork, off the post? It seemed...
Well, the first goal, the second goal, they missed it off the post and basically got the rebound and
the
scored.
Expected goals were not even close because they were peppering the goal for too long. They were at the doorstep, and sure, I guess it came in the 85th minute or whatever, so I guess it wasn't that far away from not working. But there's always added time and whatnot, and there was, it felt inevitable. And I say that because I wasn't necessarily watching this that keenly live. I had to go back and watch it. I was working a soccer show, actually, so I was working a live watch-along here. And I was stunned at the odds, considering that I wasn't watching it that closely, that England, with a 1-0 lead, past the 80-minute mark, was like only minus 200 to win the match in 90 minutes. They were basically saying, Argentina has been knocking and knocking and knocking. And even though England is up, we're not saying that this is over by any stretch of the imagination. And it wasn't just respect for Argentina. It was the game state in which it was going. So,
well, what was it when it was minus 200 on England? What was it on Argentina? Do you remember?
Well, at that point, the tie was quite high because you think they're going to score maybe one goal, not 2 goals. Argentina got up to about 16-1, I want to say.
If you hadn't been preoccupied with the show you were doing and you could have live bet it, did Argentina seem like a good bet? In the 70th minute, 75, 80, at any point.
Going back and watching, considering the context.
No. Try to put yourself in the moment. And, I mean, hindsight, yeah, sure. But
I understand,
at the time,
but I just wasn't watching the game flow enough to have noticed these things. So it's easy for me to say after the fact, but I can't really say at the time. What I'll say is having not watched it so closely, I was stunned at where the odds were. And the odds were suggesting, rightfully so, that Argentina were knocking. And so credit to Argentina. Fernandez, Martinez, and I can't say enough about Lionel Messi. At this age, at this state, I watched it in person in the quarterfinal. I watched it here. He assists, the goals here. He turns it on, and I know he walks. He doesn't track back defensively all the time. He's got to take plays off and whatnot. He's got to take time off because of his age. But nevertheless, the threat in which he poses and the way that defenses have to approach him and the respect and admiration that wills Argentina from Messi, it's outstanding, and it's why he is really leveled up to where I don't know there's much of a debate anymore on Messi or Ronaldo. I mean, Messi's doing it at the highest level at this stage when Ronaldo's been at home, and people were questioning when Portugal was in the mix on whether Ronaldo was even should be starting at this point.
So the World Cup final is set. Spain and Argentina. Spain to win the cup is minus 150 here at Bally's. Argentina is plus 130 to win it. That is Sunday, 2 o'clock for the World Cup final. And there is a consolation match tomorrow between England. Saturday, excuse me. Between England and France, in which I'm just going to ask you real quick. Anybody play in that thing, or is everybody headed home?
People do play. Here's the interesting part of this.
They did away with this in the Final Four years ago, the consolation game.
I don't know that either team necessarily wants to be there, but we tend to see, and we already see most of the totals in this World Cup have been 2.5. It's up to 3.5 for this one, and I think it might go over that number. You have players that start to play with a little bit more pride and a little less care for losing, right? So there's going to be more offense. They're just gunning for it. And here's the important part. For some of these players like Kylian Mbappe, who, there are quite a few soccer players. In some ways, you could compare them to wide receivers in the NFL at times. A bit of divas. They care a little bit about how they're perceived and whatnot. And Mbappe has a chance to go after records and whatnot. And right now, Mbappe and Messi are tied atop the most goals in this tournament. They count the third-place game for goals. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at career longevity, when you go look back at how many goals he scored, if he puts up 2 goals in the third-place game, nobody cares. It will be counted as 2 goals. And so they are going for a lot more. There's a little bit of nationality, the pride. You want to, come in third place, I guess. But they don't. They're stunned. Most of these teams, France was the favorite. England was right there and blew it. And so, of course, they're going to be disappointed to be here. It's not all that exciting, but I do think some of the top players will play, and they'll be gunning for more personal gain as opposed to some of that other stuff.
There's a reason that they quit doing this in the Final Four, and it was that nobody wanted to play in this game. It's been 45 years since they played one. And the reason I know this is that the team that lost the last consolation game at the Final Four, LSU, in 1981 to Virginia and Ralph Sampson.
We'll talk more about the final.
That's the end of what we're going to talk about with England and France. Unless you come to the show tomorrow with some, wait, I got an angle. Then we'll talk about it. Other than that, we're going to talk about the final between Spain and Argentina. We're here at Bally's downtown Baton Rouge. Come on over. Their club for 50+, where you can receive up to $5,000 in free play. That's going on right now. Their Summer Sizzler with over right at $100,000 that you can get a part of that. Their weekly VIP gift giveaways are some really cool stuff that they'll be giving to you right now. One of the rolling bags is one of the gifts that they're giving away. Very easy to park, full bar here on the sportsbook side, and of course the Dining Depot, which has been recently just redone with lots of good eats. But the signature is this gigantic screen here, which is absolutely perfect. We're watching college football replays on one of the screens. Gives you an idea what you're going to have here in the fall. Can't wait for that. The NFL and college football here at Bally's. Terrific place to watch a game. And come over and get a cocktail. Watch some of the World Cup action this weekend. We'll take a break. The Open is underway. We'll let you know what's going on over at Royal Birchdale. Tommy Tanks is headed to the show. That's pretty cool. We'll get to that and a lot more here live at Lunch from Bally's. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime. You get in a car accident like I did, it's just it's not fun. So pick up the phone, call 343-1111. You can go to the website at ocbrown.com, and you can schedule it there. As soon as you pull up the main page, it'll direct you accordingly. It's easily. And that's what we never charge for that initial consultation. If you get in a car accident, you need it. Everybody knows that, and we'll take care of that. We'll pay for your doctor bills, set up the doctor bills, just eliminate as much of the stress and inconvenience that goes along with this. And that's where Dana comes in, especially negotiating with the insurance companies, which there's an art involved in that. So do like I did when I got into a car accident. Call our friends at Daniel Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime, 343-1111 at ocbrown.com.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. It's brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business here in 2026. Supporting our Louisiana farmers, go to SupremeRice.com. The lead over at Royal Birkdale is with Daniel Brown and Sung J M, both at 4 under 66. Their rounds are finished for the day. But a lot of golfers still on the course that is playing harder, Max, you tell me, during the break here in the afternoon than it was in the morning. So a few things. First of all, there's Scotty Scheffler, who came out smoking, birdied 4 of the first 6 holes. He cooled off after that. He didn't have another birdie on the day. But he did finish at 2 under 68, so at least the early returns with his extra practice time came out pretty good. The round that Bryson DeChambeau shot after everybody from Nick Faldo on down had called him
Myself.
out. He came out and shot 3 under 67 today. Also got off to a good start with birdies on the first 2 holes. That was our consensus picks. Terrell Hatton is in there at 1 under par. He birdied the first 2, and then nothing but pars 3 through 17. He bogeyed 18, which has been a troublesome hole for a lot of these golfers. To finish at 69, 1 under par today. Matt Fitzpatrick, who was our other consensus pick, just bogeyed to go 2 over par, and he is through 6 holes, 7 holes right now. Same place that Rory McIlroy is. Sam Burns, who got back into this tournament after initially looking like he would miss it for the birth of his child, got back into it. He is through the front 9 at even par. And I guess the disaster round of the day belongs to crowd favorite Justin Rose, who shot 75 today and was somebody that a good friend of mine from Houston put on one of our text threads last night. He's like, man, I'm just watching the practice round. He's a golfer. He says, I don't want to, influence you guys. He says, man, I really, really like Justin Rose. And by the end of breakfast this morning, he's like, yep, I'm going to stay out of the prediction business. But what you've seen so far at the Open?
Well, I've loved it. I stayed up late last night, 12:30. I'm hearing all this stuff about the roll and the fairways and how burnout it is, and it is baked out. But what's so interesting, and there's not a ton of variance on this leaderboard. I mean, the leaders are at 4 under. If you're simply like 9 strokes back, you're in 140th place. So there's not been a ton of separation. But I just love watching it, especially like if you play golf a little bit, you kind of understand a little bit more of what's going on here, where Bryson DeChambeau is basically hitting driver on every hole. He is not laying back a whole lot. He hit 4 of 14 fairways, and yet he put up a great round, despite the fact that really the weakest part of his game, it wasn't his driver, it was his putter. He lost almost 1.5 strokes on the greens, but his strategy is bomb and gouge this week, and that is not something we always see in Open Championships. And I think if this tournament was held 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, when they said the rough was up real high and you couldn't hit it off the fairway or you were going to be really penalized, there are spots where you can get away with it. I don't know if you can get away with it for 72 holes, but part of the thing of baking out the golf course when it doesn't get a ton of rain and it's got a lot of sun and everything's starting to die out is the rough starts to die out too, and it starts to thin out as well. And so it's just so much strategy. We had Francesco Molinari, who is not really a great player anymore. He's a little bit older, but he's won an Open Championship a few years ago, back in 2018, I believe it was, on a very, very dry Carnoustie. And he mentioned that if you hit 9-iron on every tee, you're basically going to hit every fairway. He's talking about 9-iron on holes where other players are hitting driver off the tee. There is so much difference in strategy, and I've seen this on the first hole all day long, from this morning when I woke up. Now the wind's kicking up. It's playing a little bit differently the first hole. But there were people hitting driver near the fairway, near the green, where they almost had a 60-yard flip wedge in, And there were other players who were electing to hit iron to where they'd have 170 yards in. So you're seeing a ton of variance, a ton of different shots, a ton of different strategies for how to play. And it's interesting that Bryson, who, Nick Faldo said he doesn't have a strategy. His strategy is bomb and gouge. His strategy is driver or nothing, and it worked today. And we'll see a ton of different guys with a ton. Francesco Molinari and Bryson DeChambeau could not be different golfers. One of them is a short hitter, more methodical, and Molinari, DeChambeau's bomb and gouge. He's one of the furthest players on tour, and yet they're tied for third at 3 under par. So you're going to see a ton of variance this week. I don't know if we'll see more separation as the week goes on. Maybe the rough lies, you start to run out of luck a little bit, but I am very intrigued with how this course is going to play out this week.
Well, it's not like they found out that they were getting the Open 2 weeks ago, okay? This is set up how the Royal and Ancient,
correct?
This is set up how they want it. So, but what it was 4 weeks ago and what it is now is by design. So, good or bad?
Well, not necessarily. The RNA is the one unit, the one organization in which the setup is nature, is what nature allows. And they have some control certainly, but
they have lawnmowers, don't they?
They do.
I'm joking,
but they don't water the course. If it's dry, if it's baked out, they don't really use sprinklers over there. Links golf is just kind of how it plays, and they would, I think, rather it play this way. But if it's wet, they're going to have the rough thick. And so when they were prepping this course and it was wet and whatnot, they were going out the rough for it to be super thick. But if it dried out, which it's dried out in the last 2 weeks, it's going to play this way. And if the wind blows, it's going to play a lot harder. If the wind doesn't blow, the scores are going to be 18 under par. That's links golf. And so sometimes we like it for it playing difficult and windy and challenging and whatnot. And sometimes it's totally different where it's baked out and there's no wind. And this morning there was not much of a breeze. It's kicking up right now. That can always be the case since you're on a coastal course all the time. But I think the RNA, while they have some feedback in this, they're going to let the course and the conditions and the weather dictate how the tournament plays.
There are 60 golfers right now that are par or better, so they're within 4 shots of the lead. That's not quite half the field, but within shouting distance of it. So early on, my thing is, if you're looking to bet on this thing, you got a lot of choices. This could break a lot. There are a lot of people that could win this golf tournament.
No doubt.
Based on what I've watched so far.
No doubt. And again, the standard deviation is it's very small right now. We've got, looks like Colin Morikawa's got a chance to tie the lead on 10 with a good birdie chance. So there are guys threatening and whatnot, but you pretty much are just trying to not play your way out of the tournament. And we saw a similar setup with the PGA Championship, right, where there was not a ton of variance in the first 2 rounds. It felt like you were tied for 50th, as the cut was made after Friday, and you were right there in it. And it felt like there were so many players who were tied for, barely made the cut line and had a chance to make a run on the weekend. So that does typically provide a closer tournament. We haven't seen a ton of open nail-biters over the recent years, but maybe we'll see that this week with the current state of not a whole lot of separation.
Morikawa made his putt. He shot 31 on the front, so he is 3 under par for the tournament.
Well, I'm saying he's got a chance at 4 under on 10.
You're already on a 10. Okay.
Yeah. He's got probably a 8-10 footer for birdie to tie the lead over on 10, and we'll see who plays their way out of it. Like I said, Bryson put up a good round. That doesn't mean anything. He put up a good round, I think, at the start of the PGA Championship, and he missed the cut when all was said and done. So. Just don't play your way out of it. Justin Rose might have done that. You've got some of these guys. We'll see what Fitzpatrick can do. Get in the clubhouse at even 1 under par, and he'll be right there for the weekend, hopefully.
Well, our friend Wes Reynolds at the top of his card was Matt Fitzpatrick and Tommy Fleetwood, but also on that card was Colin Morikawa and Robert McIntyre. And McIntyre is already in the clubhouse at 3 under. And you said Morikawa's got a putt to go 4 under. He is at 11 right now. So we'll see. I'll keep you up to date with what's going on over at the Open, where blue skies anyway.
It's going to be blue skies all week. I hope the wind blows a little bit more, but it is firm and fast. The only thing is the greens might get firmer as the week goes on because they've definitely watered those for the meantime.
We're brought to you by Total Maintenance. One of the things during the summertime is the AC is critical, man. Not only does nobody want to go to sleep hot, I'm not sure if your AC goes out, if getting a good night's sleep is even possible. So make sure you get service today, every day, which is the motto over at Total Maintenance. We get a part of their membership program, which includes service twice a year, 50% off of diagnostics, and 15% off of repairs, or their elite membership program, where you have 50% of your monthly fee converted into total maintenance bucks for credit, 2 visits per year, and a lifetime warranty on repairs. That's the promise at Total Maintenance. 480-0007, 480-0007 if you want fewer AC breakdowns, lower energy bills, and that year-round peace of mind. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. Again, call 480-0007. Go out to Las Vegas and see what Colucci's thoughts are on not just the World Cup, but football is just right around the corner. That's next here at Bally's, downtown Baton Rouge, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, don't forget our friends at Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine, Go Chevrolet West in Plaquemine, and Go Ford in Waveland, Mississippi. My buddies Lee Carney and Nick Richard doing a wonderful job. Mention my name, Jimmy Ott, for VIP pricing. Whether you're in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle with extension of the factory warranty. We have a certified body shop as well, and our concierge service department. There's nothing like it. You talk about convenience on a different level. I don't just talk about the great vehicles from the Go Automobile Dealership family. My Tahoe came from Go Chevrolet in LaPlace. The Go Automobile Dealership family.
It's time. It's now Colucci time. Dwayne Colucci is back to give his best picks on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Bally's in downtown Baton Rouge. Come on by and see us, and come by for the World Cup, the final on Sunday between Argentina and Spain. Somebody who's been, counting money all week. We'll see. Dwayne Colucci joins us from out in Las Vegas. Colucci, how you doing?
Doing well, Charlie. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, man. I sent Jimmy to San Diego for a few weeks, so it's a little bit more relaxed around here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his absence has relaxed us here a little bit. Who knows? But from what we were able to see with the match between France and Spain was, at least from locally, they were betting France as hard and as fast as they could, and the books did pretty well. Was that the case out where you are?
France was the favorite. You know, everybody knows that. You know, they were picking up momentum as the tournament went on, but that apparently fizzled right out. We did pretty well on that game, though. You know, it wasn't as lopsided as a lot of people perceive, but the money was definitely on France and high on France here at Caesars Sports and the resort at Summerlin.
So when this match is going on, and Spain, Colucci, they dominated this match. Even with my, like I said, limited knowledge of soccer, you could see them controlling this match. I don't know how much of the end game came in the other way. The team switching sides. Are you expecting France at some point to mount some kind of charge? But they never got there. They didn't even get a shot on goal until the 80th minute. So I'm wondering what the reaction was in the book, and if the live betting reflected any kind of more support for France, because they look pretty bad.
Yeah, no, they really didn't support them. You could tell there were no shots on goal, and they kind of packed it in after the first goal, Charlie. So, you know, a lot of people with the in-game just laid back, or they were actually betting Spain in this particular game. You know, you could sense that France didn't have it. They seemed a little exhausted and winded. No shots on goal, like you said. The defense by Spain was just impeccable. They couldn't really get close to the net or to get any of those quality shots that they had in the prior round. So, the in-game was steady. Definitely, we have a tremendous in-game flow and tremendous prop flow at the Caesars Racing Sportsbook at the resort at Summerlin. But, in this case, a lot of people were getting the sense, when you watch so many of these games, Charlie, and I mean, this tournament lags on and drags on, there's definitely some, potential for injuries to players that are not disclosed, exhaustion, food poisoning issues. There's all sorts of variables when you're in a different country for so long, Charlie, that, who knows what happened to France, but a lot of people were able to sense that they were just, not the team on that day.
And Spain, who has not trailed in this tournament, has been every bit as good, maybe not as dynamic as France has been, but if Argentina, and we'll get to them in a second, if Argentina falls behind a goal, or falls behind for 2 goals, it's going to feel like going up the south face of Everest, given how well Spain is defended. They've only given up 2 goals in this tournament, and that's been the MO for Argentina. Most of their goals in the knockout round, in fact, 4 times as many goals in the knockout round have been scored after the 80th minute. So I would be really intrigued to see how this match plays out on Sunday. If there's a little bit more Messi love, do they have any left? That even if Argentina falls behind Spain, that they can mount one more comeback. They did it again yesterday.
Well, the line is Spain currently minus 154 and Argentina plus 125. Then you have the 3-way betting, which is Spain plus 124, Argentina plus 245. So you're almost getting double the amount. If you feel that they could get it done within the 90 minutes and not go to the, the knockout round. But, it's going to be tough. I think Argentina is going to have a little more sense not to fall behind as much as they have in these past games, and especially because Spain knows how to put the pedal to the metal. But Argentina is very capable. They score goals in bunches, which is very impressive, whereas we haven't seen that from the other teams. Even Spain, it seems like they score a goal, then they'll get the finishing goal when they know and sense the kill. But Argentina they have some offensive firepower there when they turn it to another level, and I might anticipate them doing that from the get-go as opposed to waiting till the 70, 80-minute mark.
I'm wondering what it was like yesterday, or if you were even in the sports book during the match, where England's leading this thing into the 85th minute before this blitz goes on in the last 7, and all of a sudden this stunned look. The English coach come under a lot of criticism for how he played it, but I'm just wondering, as this thing unfolded yesterday, I know what World Cup matches draw out in Vegas. I've been there for a lot of them, and I don't know, NFL intensity, you can tell me, but there's a lot of people interested in this stuff.
So there's a lot of intensity, Charlie, but nothing like the NFL or the playoffs.
The NFL's king. I get that.
This is the equivalency, think about it, of an NFL championship game, so there's no comparison. But, I wasn't in the book, but I've been in the book for some of these Mexico-United States games, and let me tell you, they were fired up, these crowds. And, when Argentina scored the second goal, I imagine it just got crazy in here. I know a lot of the local bars are definitely thriving during the World Cup. They love it because, you do have these other Buffalo Wild Wings, say, for example, or David Buster's. You can bring your kids. So, definitely a lot of these fans are rabid, and a lot of the local joints are doing great, as well as the sports books. But, yeah, Charlie, definitely more heightened than the All-Star game was, that's for sure. And definitely, a lot of people come out for these games. Not near the NFL level, we know that, but definitely a nice bowl game. It's comparable.
All right, so I know it's early. We got to go all the way to Sunday before this match, but you got 2, I'm gonna call it genres that people like to bet. You got a clear favorite on one side, and on the other side, you got the defending champion and the most popular, if not the most popular player in the sport, certainly pretty close to it. So, where's the early action, and how do you expect this to level out? The Messi bettors, the defending champion bettors versus the favorite bettors?
Well, I think it's, when you deal with the sharp money, they're going to be all over Spain, in my opinion. I think that Spain has proven to be battle-tested and proven that they may be able to control this Argentina offense. But, the general public, they're just piling it on Messi to score goals. I mean, we have props here that are unbelievable. I mean, Messi to score a goal, Oyarzabal to score a goal, Yamal, 1 shot plus on target. Alvarez, 1+ shot on target. That's plus 22.50. So a $10 bet there wins $225. We're putting up props like that to be honest with you, at Caesar Sports at the resort at Summerlin. So we're trying and definitely get as much attention on this game and as much handle as we can. I mean, Mbappe is, minus 152 for an anytime goal. Messi plus 140. So there's some value, and you're going to definitely see people start to bet Lionel Messi, and that'll get close to even money, I'll be honest with you, because he is the king. He also has that affiliation with the Miami team here in the United States. So people are very familiar, to what Messi brings to the table and how many years of experience. So I think we're going to have a ton of props, wagered on Messi. But still, I think the sharps, when you're talking about the game, are going to be betting Spain. And, I'm not so sure it'll get past 160, but that's reasonable on the 2 advance just to win the game.
Did you have a number on Mbappe to score a goal? Because we were talking about him in the first segment. These goals count in the consolation game. They count towards his career totals. They count towards this year's total for, the most goals in the World Cup. So even though the match – it's a consolation match. We know what those are like, but he's got something. I mean, if there's any ego there, they're going to play this a little bit looser. What you got a number right now on Mbappe?
Yeah,
anytime
152.
goal?
152 anytime goal. That's what I said. Harry Kane plus 114 in that consolation game. Messi is plus 140. Let me look and see from the Spain side. Oyarzabal is plus 151 anytime goal. So 2+ goals on Messi plus 850. And Oyarzabal plus 950. 2+ goals on Mbappe is only plus 360. So keep that in mind. I mean, they're thinking that Mbappe is going to just go crazy in this consolation game. Harry Kane, though, as well, like I said, taking some action at plus 114. Anytime goal, plus 675 to get 2+.
I got to tell you, I've enjoyed the World Cup. It's been a terrific, I'm going to call it filler because it's not our main sport here, but when the college baseball season here ended for the local team a lot earlier than it usually does, it has kept our attention more than at any time in the past, and I've enjoyed it. But when it ends on Sunday, I know it means our football season, the American football season.
Just right in, right? John?
Yeah.
Other than me, I have the in-between with Saratoga and, Del Mar, but definitely the college slides right in. You start to then handicap your pro. Everybody starts to look for their, fantasy football drafts and stuff like that. So, the NFL and college football are just a massive, massive attraction here. But like you said, I mean, the World Cup brought great handle, a handle that you haven't seen in the past 4 years during the summer months. I mean, the baseball is just so repetitious at this point. And I never like to bash the American pastime, but when you start to think about it, Charlie, I mean, the Dodgers, they have so many meaningless games in the second half. It's going to be interesting to see how the American League pans out, and definitely plays out. Will Aaron Judge get healthy? Will the pitching for the Yankees get healthy? You still got Fried, Rodon on the DL. Are there other teams that could rise to the challenge in the American League? And the National League, the Braves are going to be consistent at times. I don't know if they could beat the Dodgers, but, baseball leaves a little to be desired, and the World Cup brought extra flavor to some.
I am very curious if the Dodgers win this thing again, just what kind of resolve that's going to give either side in these negotiations for the next CBA this winter. Because if the Dodgers win it again, it's going to be unbelievable ammunition to say we can't flourish as an entire sport if we continue to allow these kind of payrolls. The converse is, hey, look, the Mets spent all that kind of money too, and they didn't win anything. But it's going to be, I think, the most contentious CBA negotiation since '94, and I do think that how this season turns out is going to be one of the major talking points. Basically, Dodgers or no Dodgers, how this thing plays out. I'm not necessarily salary cap dependent, but I would like to see that salary floor because I'd like to see some of these teams that have good young talent, and we've been watching the Pirates because of Skeens, at least make somewhat of a financial commitment. They've started to, but
they don't. That's the whole problem, Charlie.
Yeah.
They don't. And the Dodgers make that commitment, and they bring a shining light onto baseball that if you do spend a little money, cut your revenue down a little bit in the concessions and stuff like that, you could be a successful team. Not everybody has to have the concessions of Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. Those places are so overpriced and outpriced, and they're just chasing customers away. And then in return, they don't want to sign the paycheck for the big superstar. Yankees could have locked up Soto. I mean, they could have just offered that little extra. Like you said, the Mets did it. The Dodgers continue to do it, but the Dodgers have a successful formula. It doesn't seem like the Mets, when they spend money, their upper, front office knows what they're doing. It's a combination of knowing what you're doing, getting the right assets, putting them in place, and just keeping your team similar to the prior year. So, I can't discredit the Dodgers. I think they do a great job in the front office, and they make the acquisitions that they need to make. You can't penalize a team for that, especially when you got college kids getting paid now, Charlie. So, you want to start capping salaries, stuff like that. It's so difficult now when the college is paying athletes. And, it's very tough. It's a tough scenario. I know what you're saying. It would definitely equalize the landscape in MLB. But, the Dodgers are doing a great job, whereas teams like the Mets, the Yankees, Houston, when they spend money, they're not spending it in the right places.
Kaluch, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of the week. We will be with you again next week. We'll be one step closer. Just a couple of weeks before the NFL teams report for camp. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Thanks, Charlie. Love you, brother. And say hi to everybody in fabulous Baton Rouge.
We will do it. Dwayne Colucci out in Las Vegas. We're also brought to you by the Thibodeau Store. If you're doing painting right now, you're in luck because at the Thibodeau Store, they're running paint specials right now. Start your painting project right. Shop paint supplies up to 26% off on your paints and other painting supplies, your drywall joint compounds, your spackling and primer repair, your professional green painter's tape, tarps, drop cloths, brushes, rollers, pans. You name it, they've got it. And right now, at significant discounts, thethibodeaustore.com will get you to all four of the sites: Rose, Lockport, Thibodaux, and Pierre Part. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. They're open until 5:30. And on the website, everything that is on the website is available for same-day pickup. A lot of these items are available for delivery. Outdoor cooking equipment, patio furniture, poolside furniture, lots of cordless power tools and hand tools. You get them at the Thibodaux Store. Again, 900 St. Patrick Highway. And if you're headed down to the coast, tons of fishing equipment available at the Thibodaux Store on your way. Live at Bally's. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive at 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, between Perkins and I-10. It's the only place I take my vehicle. Jason Payne, going to give you an honest deal. Not going to upcharge you for unnecessary work. Now, because of it, he has so much repeat business that it's busy. If you bring it in and it's too busy at that time, he will schedule a more convenient time for you and for them. So you're not just sitting around. You come in, they want you busy, and you just sit there and wait and wait and wait for hours upon hours upon hours. Not going to happen at K&M Automotive. Tell them you heard it right here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. My buddy Jason Payne at K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery.
From Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We return here at Bally's. Come on by and see us at the World Cup finals this Sunday, or we're watching the Open Championship going on right now. The best screen anywhere. Can't wait for football season to be here. Get out on Saturdays and Sundays to watch the games here at Bally's. But in the meantime, the World Cup, 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Easy parking, full bar setup here in the sportsbook. When I say full bar setup, I mean a full bar setup with really, really good sight lines. Sometimes you get a little bit turned around with some of these places. Not here at Bally's. You're going to get a great view for whatever you're watching this fall. Great news for Tommy White. Tommy Tanks called up to the A's from AAA Las Vegas just a couple of years after finishing his college career at LSU. Tommy White finished with 75 career college home runs, which puts him tied for 8th on the all-time list. Actually tied with, multiple players, but one of them, Chad Suter, played his college ball at Tulane. LSU's top 2 home run hitters overall are still the top 2 home run hitters in the Southeastern Conference history. Eddie Furnace hit 80. Brad Cressy hit 78. Tanks came up with 75 when he finished. He hit what I will comfortably say is the second biggest home run in college in LSU baseball history, behind Warren Morris. With that shot, I was sitting right there in left field, watched it go over against Wake Forest, and with maybe the best college baseball game that I've seen at the College World Series outside of that 96 championship game. Tommy White made this very, very quick after he left LSU. He only spent 25 games at Class A, moved up very, very quickly to high A ball, 66 games there. He had 11 home runs. They moved him up right after that. In 2025, he started at that high A. They moved him into Double A, where he was in Midland, Texas. He hit well over 300 there. And then to start this season, they gave him 3 weeks at Midland. In 21 games there, he hit over 300. And then they moved him up to Las Vegas, where in 55 games he had 303 with 9 homers and 47 runs batted in. There are some at-bats to be had there. Brent Rooker, DH at Oakland, is out for the season with a knee injury. You remember him from his time at Mississippi State. So there are some at-bats opening up. And Tommy Tanks is headed to the show. First game against the Nationals and Dylan Cruz. Take a break. Back with Bruce Marshall here at Bally's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bruce Marshall.
We're here at Bally's in downtown Baton Rouge in the sportsbook watching the Open at Royal Burksdale right now. And we're checking in with Bruce Marshall, who I believe somewhere in the world right now is in Charlotte, North Carolina, or maybe getting ready to head out of Charlotte, North Carolina, ACC Media Days. Bruce, good afternoon. Where are you?
I am in Charlotte. I'm still here at ACC, and then I'll be going down to see grandbaby in Orlando this weekend, and then I'll head over to Tampa for the SEC Media Days next week.
All right, you got it pretty mapped out. We're sending a crew to several crews to SEC Media Days ourselves, so we'll get into that next week. But give me the highlights of what we've heard from the ACC this week, and then we got to talk about this tiebreaker. But give me your overall impressions of what you've seen and heard.
Yeah, the first thing that jumped out was Mike Norvell was up yesterday. And he's talking as fast as Jimbo Fisher now. I mean, he looks so nervous up there, and maybe he should be. He's got that contract. He's still going to be compensated if he gets out. But it's like the thought around Florida State. I mean, they're not even being considered as one of the contenders here. Excuse me. And I think, last year, Norvell, under most circumstances, probably would have been gone, except, from what I understand, not all buyouts are the same, and these Jimmy Sexton buyouts, there's a lot of money that has to be paid up front, and the offsets, it's sort of different, and Florida State just couldn't handle that last year. So, they brought him back, but I would be a little leery, too. They just recently brought Tom Herman in, and it's almost like, as on the staff, it's like, just in case we got to let Norvell go before the season, we got our interim in place. Maybe they thought that was Malzahn last year. That worked out so bad it didn't go. But I almost think there's something behind the scenes there that's going to go on at Florida State. So that was one. The whole ACC thing, Jim Phillips made his speech yesterday. I mean, he's more candid than a little bit better than I thought. He showed a little bit more personality than sense of humor than he had in the past. They're still supposedly, he mentioned the tiebreaker thing and how that's going to work, and they'll have more information on that. It sounds like it's beyond what FIFA would do to break ties, in the World Cup standings. That's interesting, but the ACC's in an interesting place, and a challenging place, because it's sort of where the Big 12 is, and to try to keep pace with the Big 2. It's getting to be more of a challenge for them. So whether Phillips is able to navigate that or just the whole landscape is just moving sort of to this 2 plus everybody else. We'll see, but they're trying their best, the ACC, and the media days here are good. You've been to it before at the SEC. This sort of reminds me of the way it used to be at Hoover. A little bit, not quite as big a show as the SEC, and I really enjoy how they put these media days on in Charlotte. It's very good.
Let me get to this tiebreaker before we get to Florida State. This was going to be challenging no matter what, but they got into bed and they understand what having Notre Dame in the league is and their expansion is. But they're going to have to come up with a tiebreaker where 12 teams in their league are playing 9 ACC games and 5 are playing 8 ACC games. And that's just for this year to accommodate some of the non-conference games that were scheduled prior to the expansion. But even moving forward, they're going to have one team every year play only 8 conference games. They've got 17 teams in the league. I cannot imagine, as much as we complain about scheduling down here, and I'm right at the front of the line for the SEC, how much complaining and moaning that there would be if this were in the SEC. But how are they going to – what they said was they want to reward entire body of work. Bruce, that sounds good, but the devil's in the details. What are you picking up from how they're going to sort this mess out if they end up with something similar to what they had last year?
And when they get a big brouhaha, which they are setting themselves up to have at some point, they got to get to an even number in this league, and maybe that's when they bring Memphis in. I don't know. But I'm going to gather that, the Mountain West sort of has had something like this too, where you go to the computer rankings and you trust that, and that breaks ties. So I gather this is how the ACC is going to do that if it comes to that. But it makes it very awkward. And that thing this year with so many teams being different games and so many with 9 and 8, it'll be down to just one, in subsequent years. But this season, it just looks like a real awkward mess. And and the Notre Dame thing, that's another thing. I mean, I just wish that they'd turn the screws on Notre Dame and say, you join us or don't. And that's really playing a game of chicken with Notre Dame, because I think they like the 5 games against Notre Dame, or the exposure for the league like that. I don't know, and maybe they count those. I'm not sure the answer to this. If they count those Notre Dame games, maybe should count in the league standings. I don't know. They did that one year, the COVID year. Notre Dame, because it had to, became an ACC football team that year, and so they were like everybody else. But it does look like a hornet's nest that they're flying into.
I understand they like the football part of it. And you're right. It's a big game of chicken because there's a lot of money involved. But I would like to see Notre Dame schedule 31 women's basketball games and men's basketball games as an independent. I'd like to see them try to schedule 56 college baseball games as an independent. And, those are just the sports that we pay attention to. Yeah, they're not going to have any problem scheduling as a football independent, but if every other sport on your campus were put into that same position, I think that would be pretty tough. But they have not stood up to them yet, so I'm not expecting that to change. They're just going to have to come up with a tiebreaker that everybody at least somewhat understands. When we did the BCS, Bruce, I always thought that one of the big negatives around the BCS was most of the casual fans just were not going to put the research in, nor should they, to try to decide how computers were going to rank teams. And when you don't know, you tend to lose at least a little bit of interest, or at the very least be skeptical of what you're being told. And if you just say, well, body of work, they're going to have to sell this to me. They're going to have to be really specific with what that means, because you can't leave it to somebody's opinion when you get down to the last week or two of the season to decide who's going to play in your championship game.
Oh, I agree with that. And the computer ranking still, I mean, just because we put that word computer in front of it, it's still input from people. So people influence that stuff. And I think, the way the Mountain West did it was sort of a compilation of various polls and rankings. And I guess maybe the BCS, the football playoff, does that too. But it is a hard sell because it's still a lot of unknowns there. Is it, what are they looking at? And when you get down to that, where whatever these rankings say, it's still a subjective thing. and it's not scientific as much as they try to sell it. You're always going to run that sort of a risk, and I wonder if that should actually be an argument maybe for expanding the playoff bigger, and that could be down the road. So you're trying to take, and if it's 24 teams, if it's team 25 you're keeping out, you're probably not keeping out a championship contender. But last year, you're down to Miami or Notre Dame, and it could have been, Miami ended up being in the national title game. So at that lesser number, that could be more impactful.
Let me back up on the Florida State thing. Mike Norvell, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, I guess, but 2 seasons have passed since then, was undefeated in the last game of the season. His quarterback goes down. The quarterback didn't go down in the last game of the season, but just imagine what he was feeling the morning that those playoff rankings came out. And because his quarterback was gone, they did not make the playoffs. Since then, and that season was magical for them. They won every game until they got into the bowl game. It didn't mean anything. Since then, Bruce, you had a 2-10 season and a 5-7 season, and all of a sudden, if we were not for the contract, and I agree with you, he would be gone. What happened at Florida State in the last 24 to 30 months? Because we were talking about this before Jimmy left. Is it more of, has Norvell, did he just catch lightning in a bottle that year, first of all? Did he overachieve? Is that the outlier? Or have there just been a series of things that have happened since then, budgetary or whatever, that have made repeating that type of record a non-starter in Tallahassee?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of that. And I think they definitely caught lightning in a bottle in 2023. And they won those very 2 narrow decisions early over BC and Clemson games they probably should have lost. The schedule then broke so well, and that was a stage when the ACC as a general was kind of down, and they skated through that. And then Jordan Travis, he got injured in the game against North Alabama right at the end of that year. God, I wish, Norvell probably wishing he never played that game or didn't play his starters. But after that and getting the snub, which was deserved, I think. I don't think Florida State was the top 14 that year. The program's never recovered. And then getting destroyed by Georgia like that, and even without your quarterback, you shouldn't lose a game by 60 points. That sort of set the tone. I think the last couple of years, more practically, he has missed. Norvell and his staff have really missed in the portal. And some of the guys that they brought in, especially on the offensive line 2 years ago, did work. I mean, that was a bad offense in 2024. And it just didn't work. And it was mostly because the portal class came in, just didn't deliver. And that's a risk when you're just trying to live through the portal. If you miss, it's not they got to hit right away. And one problem is compounded after another. The quarterback play wasn't good. Castellanos got very erratic as last season went on. They brought in Ashton Daniels this year. Remember him at the end of last season for Auburn? Not bad. Not great. And at Stanford before that, not bad. Not great. Is he the answer? I don't know. I think they're missing in the portal a lot, and that falls back on Norvell. So he's going to have to live with the consequences.
Bruce, do you think Norvell will be coaching on Halloween against Clemson? They'll be off a bye that week. They've got SMU and Bama in September, Virginia at Louisville, at Miami in October before that game.
Good question, Max. I think the November 1, the day after Clemson, that might be the drop-dead point. But you mentioned that, and the schedule, once you get past that, you got New Mexico State and Central Arkansas. It's a tough schedule. I mean, SMU at home, and they got to go to Alabama in the revenge game, Virginia, Louisville, Miami. I think he could be out before the Clemson game. I really do. But if he's not at least, 5-3 or so at that point in the Clemson game, and they lose to Clemson, that would probably be it. But if he's coaching beyond October, like I said, that Halloween game with Clemson, that might be his last one, especially if he loses it. I don't think he's going to finish the season, though. No.
Charlie, it just goes back to, the Brian Kelly stuff here at LSU. The departure was very quick. We didn't expect it to go as quickly as it did. But now if you're in a situation like Florida State where you've got kind of a lame duck, I mean, what is this season really? I mean, we're talking about when he's going to get fired. Like, you're just wasting a season. Like, you're better off. I know it was expensive. It was very expensive.
Yeah, they can't afford it. That's what it comes down to.
But if you're LSU, like, you just got to do it when you can. When you know it's going to happen, don't waste any time.
Be thankful that you had the money to do it, because most of us didn't believe that they did. Bruce, Clemson will be here to open the season. What did you take from what Dabo said? Prior to last year, they had averaged 10 wins a season over 4 years. Everything was clipping along, but they are not the Clemson that they were when they were competing for championships. What did you take from what Dabo had to say?
Well, Dabo's coming up later today. He'll be the last one up today, so I will hear him later today. But the buzz around here, the people I'm talking to, is they think he's sort of lost his magic touch. And the LSU opener is going to be very interesting. I thought that was tough last year for them to lose that opener and sort of set the tone for Clemson. He's had players still. I mean, the NFL draft has been taking Clemson guys. Last year we were talking about this defense being so great, and Klubnik, and I still think Klubnik could be a decent. He could be another Brock Purdy, perhaps. That's asking a lot, but I mean, I think he'll have a chance with the Jets. Not them because he hadn't had players. Something just hasn't been clicking there. And Dabo is back in it. He's reluctantly gone into the portal more. I think a lot of people thought that was one of the issues there, that he just was so slow to adapt to the nil and the portal stuff, and now he's finally picking up on that. But he still had enough players to do it, and that's what's got Clemson people concerned. Why did this drop off so much the last couple of years? Because we still had players, and we had a quarterback we thought we should win with. So, big question there for Clemson, and if a lot of people here, it's funny. This used to be all a Florida State Clemson thing at the ACC Media Days, and now certainly not Florida State, and Clemson's not regarded as one of the top couple teams either. We'll see.
All right, Bruce, before we let you go, give us a pick on the World Cup final and some few thoughts about the two semifinals.
Oh, well, semifinal first, I'm going to go over in that just because semifinal games, third-place games you're talking about, they usually go over, so that might be England fans if you can get them both on the field. Spain should beat Argentina, although I'm a little reluctant to buck Argentina after I did yesterday, and they burned me again. But I think Spain is a completely different kettle of fish. I thought England, tactically, and this is, listen to all the podcasts and everything, they went too defensive too early, and you just shouldn't do that against Argentina. Spain is a different kettle of fish. We saw them against France control the possession. Not just that, they regain possession so much, and it's those guys up on top. It's Olmo, it's Oyarzabal, it's Baena. What they do defensively, they're tigerish. They win the ball back. This is the other thing, Argentina. It's getting the ball past midfield, then to Messi where he can do something. They're going to have trouble just getting the ball past midfield, I think. Spain will win this game 3-1, I think. And I'm going to think it's Spain, although I'm risking it because Messi burned me yesterday, and there's always a chance he could burn me again.
Well, we'll see. You weren't alone getting burned with England yesterday. You had lots of company. Max showed up today with his Messi voodoo doll, and he just.
I'm actually wearing the same shirt I wore for the quarterfinals. So yeah, I am celebrating Argentina, I guess. Sadly.
Bruce, safe travels down to Tampa, and we'll talk to you next week from SEC Media Days.
Okay, thank you, Charlie and Max.
We are here at Bally's, downtown Baton Rouge, with this beautiful sports book, fantastic screens, bar area set up, not a bad seat anywhere. They're sprucing some of the gaming areas here near the bar area, so if you haven't been here in a week or so, a couple of weeks or a month, looks a little bit different now. A new influx of machines here on this side, and just a little widening of your space areas here by the bar. So come on over. Easy parking and great view for the World Cup final or whatever it is you may be watching. Live at lunch here from Bally's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Relief windows for windows, vinyl, storm impact windows, wood windows. That's like I had to. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine does, there is only one solution. You got to go to Relief Windows. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. I've had them for about 6 or 8 years. They are built to last in these extreme southern Louisiana weather conditions. They look brand new. They're functional on a nice fall or spring day. I love opening it up, getting some fresh air. Functional, look great, and they are no signs of deteriorating at all. Not the same with normal wood windows. It's not a cheap procedure, so do it right the right time and don't have this recurring cost a little bit later down the road like I did. Yeah, was in the market for it. I sure wish I'd have used Relief Windows with the original construction of my homes. For windows, doors, siding, shutter, and shades, go to reliefwindows.com. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Relief Windows, 288-8138.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're also brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff, boy, for us, been a godsend at times to relieve that back pain, neck pain, muscle soreness, the things that are keeping you from getting around as well as you'd like or costing you a good night's sleep. You know, with an adjustment, sometimes the exercise and stretching program will loosen you up enough to get things corrected. Sometimes you need a dry needle or electric nerve stimulation, cryotherapy, ultrasound therapy. They're going to pinpoint those problem areas for you, get you to feeling better. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla, Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. New Orleans Saints have made it official. They've reworked Alvin Kamara's contract. That was confirmed yesterday. The restructured deal, and this has been restructured multiple times, is going to pay him a base salary of $6 million this season. He has a chance to make up to $8.5 million with incentives. That's down from the $11.5 base salary this season. Again, although they moved some of that money around in March. Alvin Kamara, according to Taron Armstead's podcast, he says, I just talked to him. He's pissed off at the last couple of years and how the narrative has started to change that he can't do this and he can't do that. He hates that, end of quote. Okay. I love Alvin Kamara. I really do. He has been a fantastic player for the Saints. He was, when he came out of Tennessee, not expected to contribute at this level. At one point, I thought he was the best receiving back in the NFL, certainly one of the top 2 or 3. And in his prime, he was one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire NFL. Is a dual threat guy. But that time has passed. And he can what I like about Alvin Kamara is he stayed steadfast, loyal to the Saints. He never really got into a serious contract dispute where he was going to end up somewhere else. He said many times that he wants to finish his career in New Orleans, and I certainly respect that. And like I said, I appreciate the loyalty to the Saints. But he's going to be 31 years old next week. And if he's pissed off about the production the last 2 years, it's not people's opinion. It's just flat-out facts. Last year, Alvin Kamara played in 11 games and rushed 471 yards. That's 3.6 yards per carry. He scored 1 touchdown. He caught 33 balls for 186 yards and didn't score there. This isn't production that gets you an $8 million contract. This is production that barely keeps you on the roster in some cases. I understand that this is not like parting ways with a running back that you drafted 2 years ago and had 2 nondescript seasons and you just move on from him. Like they should move on from Kendre Miller as fast as they can. But this is one of your most loved players, one of your loyal veterans, fan favorite, and he's had a lot of success in New Orleans. But the expiration date on most running backs passed on him 2 years ago. And when they did that contract the first time, you are going to regret this deal. I think they're going to regret the deal on Travis Etienne. A 4-year, be fine this year, but you don't sign 27-year-old running backs to 4-year contracts. And you certainly don't sign guys that are 29 years old to longer-term contracts. And spare me the excuses about, well, you're spacing it out so you can save more on the cap this year. Look, man, the number of running backs that are what you would call highly productive past the age of 27, 28, man, it's a pretty short list. There's a few Derrick Henrys out there, but they ain't many. And that's the time where you usually move on from these guys. I understand how hard it will be emotionally and all that stuff, but Alvin Kamara is not producing anywhere close to this contract, even with the last two. And look, if Alvin Kamara goes out there and finds the fountain of youth this year and has 1,200, 1,400 combined yards, I'll say, you know what, I gave up on him too soon. But this is how they get themselves in binds. They marry themselves to players that or their players. They did this with Ruiz too. They gave him a contract extension that they never should have given him. They let Cam Jordan go out and test the market this year at least. And Cam Jordan was productive last year. Even if you think that some of those sacks were a little bit, on missed assignments and things more than his production, Cam Jordan was productive, and they brought him back on a contract that makes sense for him. I'm sorry, and I don't want to say anything bad about Alvin Kamara. I love Alvin Kamara. I've enjoyed watching him play. But they hang on to these veterans too long. They pay them on what they did 5 years ago rather than what they're worth now. So, okay, I guess, but they got 7 running backs in that room, and the level of production the last 2 years based on what you've been paying him, you have grossly overpaid.
Look, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but this restructure, I think, is only good news. I mean, you're paying him less.
It's better news.
What were you going to do, right? You were going to cut him. You were going to be cost for that, right?
But you'd be done with it. After a year, you'd be done with
it. You can't trade him because he doesn't want to be traded, and I think that's admirable, right? If you're a fan, you ask
I love
this
the loyalty.
type of loyalty.
I'm fine with that.
Of course, you want all these things. I think this is about as good of a scenario as you're going to get. And yes, was the original contract where they set up an aging star who so much of what his production comes from is niftiness, and it's not power, right? Power backs, you tend to think they can last a little bit longer, maybe past that 28 mark that we all look at for running backs. But so much of his was speed and quickness and balance, and that goes a little bit quicker, and so you expected a decline in his game. The one good thing is he's not going to be asked to be the RB1 this year. You brought in
that'll help.
And now granted, that's a whole different can of worms, and you kind of open that as well. But hopefully you get a Devin Neal or an Audric Estime to kind of emerge, and they can be kind of the future behind Kamara and Etienne. But I don't know how yesterday's news is a bad thing. I think this is ultimately what everyone would have hoped for, which is he stays with the team. You can't pay him what they were going to pay him. You can't pay the base salary of $11 million. That's a fault of yesteryear, and I can't. You can be critical of that, sure, but this restructuring, as it works, is best case scenario, I think, considering
because of what the position that you put yourself into, and they've done this before where they've overextended on running backs past their prime. They did this with Mark Ingram too, okay, and Ingram. They brought him back, I guess. And it wasn't on a contract this egregious, but I don't know. I've got a certain philosophy about running backs in the NFL, and it's that about once every third, fourth, maybe even fifth year, you take a second-day pick and you invest in a running back. Hopefully somebody that doesn't have an injury history, and you say, okay, if you invest a second-round pick in a running back, you're probably going to get one of the certainly top 5 running backs in the draft, maybe even a top 3 running back in the draft because so few of them go in the first round. So if you do that every 4th year, maybe every 5th year, you invest a day 2 pick in a running back, and you get them through one contract, and then you're done. They come into the league at 22, you give them a 5-year contract, and they're at 27, you cut bait. Because there's another 22-year-old kid that you can go out there and get on day 2. Now, if you miss, you may have to come back and do it again. Kendre Miller is a good example of that. Okay, they thought they had a very good back and a guy they could count on, and he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. But I'm not investing in running backs past the age of 27. I'm just not. And like I said, they're the Derrick Henrys of the world out there. Saquon Barkley, okay, is a good example of this, all right? When he was 27 years old, ran for 2,000 yards, okay? That's peak running back. That's top of your athleticism, top of your knowledge of the game, veteran. Almost always it goes downhill from there. Like I said, there's a few guys that have been able to age like fine wine. Derrick Henry's the most prominent example, and there have been others.
I mean,
but there's
the Eagles won a Super Bowl with him.
What's that?
Could the Giants – you think the Giants were right in letting him go, Barkley?
Yeah, I do.
So you're playing the Seattle – Ken Walker, you were great, but
yes,
ta-da,
that's how I would play.
I get that,
because
but
what you have to invest. Okay, look, you could criticize the Giants for him what he did in Philadelphia, but he wasn't going to do that with the Giants. They were going to pay him a whole bunch of money, and they were going to finish 6-11 because they didn't have a team around him. If you are a team with a championship shot and you can bring in a veteran running back on a 1-year deal, I'm fine with that. Okay, if let me think. Buffalo's a bad example because they actually have a running game now. They're the leading rush. Cook led the league in rushing last year. But if you are, Kansas City, okay, if you think they're still a championship contender, okay, you say, hey, you know what, we're going to bring in a running back. All right, bring in a running back. I wouldn't have brought him in on a long-term deal. I'll bring in a running back. Another playoff. The Texans, okay. Now, their problems weren't really with the running game. Their problems with their quarterback went to pieces. But if you're in that position and you want to bring in a veteran running back on a 1-year deal, that's fine. But no, I'm sorry. Call me ageist. Is that what the term is? I'm going to be highly discriminating against running backs that are that age. I just don't. The odds are with me.
No doubt.
The older running backs, for every Derrick Henry, there's 100 Earl Campbells that when they get to that point in their career and they got that kind of mileage on them, they can't get it done anymore.
I feel for running backs, too, because their careers are shorter, they're very impactful, and yet they just don't get paid the same. And so much of it is, I agree with you, that second contract, it's not just when they're going to get paid, how long they're going to get paid, but it's just market value, over market value. What are you paying the rest of the league's running backs? And if you're paying a guy on a second contract who is getting worse, theoretically, which normally is the case, and you're paying them over what everyone else is paying their running backs, it doesn't make sense. And that's a predicament that NFL running backs are in. I think it's unfortunate. I don't know how you fix it, but running backs deserve to be paid because they're impactful. We've seen it over recent years, some of these Super Bowl teams. You tell me Ken Walker wasn't important for Seattle, but I don't know if I'm Kansas City if I'm making that move to sign him long term.
I'm not going long term with him. Like I said, if you and he's going to Super Bowl MVP. Okay, he's going to demand. Let me try another one. Were the Panthers wrong to trade Christian McCaffrey when they did? Because I'll be honest with you, I loved that deal for Carolina when they made it because Carolina wasn't going anywhere and they could get real value for him in the form of draft picks. But McCaffrey has gone to San Francisco and been – I know he was hurt last year, but was it 2 years ago? He has played in, I want to say, 85% of the games eligible since he's been to San Francisco. And he's an older back. It worked. I think that worked out for both teams.
Yeah,
he's in the same draft as Fournette. Fournette's been out of the league for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So it worked out for them. But I loved that trade for Charlotte for Carolina when they made it.
I agree. It hasn't really worked out for Carolina. I don't think that the reset has really worked. But let's say Bryce Young had worked. Let's say these draft picks they acquired. If the roster decisions after the trade worked out, then yes, it would look great now. I agree. I think they probably had to do it because I don't think they were just building around McCaffrey and they were, a couple pieces away from being a contender.
Missing on the draft choices does not make it a bad trade.
No, just because it doesn't work out after the fact. Yeah. I mean, the trade in and of itself.
If they had kept
right
McCaffrey, would they have ended up in the NFC Championship game?
No, that's the thing. I don't think they were a couple pieces away. So.
You got to. There's a reason why the last piece. Okay. Now, at one point, I would have said, "Hey, listen, if the Saints would have had a chance to draft Jeremiah Love, This is special circumstances because you've got an older, inexperienced quarterback that really needs a running game. If that had been available to the Saints, and they had put free agent dollars into the offensive line, I would have said, okay, I can live with it. It's not usually what I would do, but in this case, I might have been able to live with it. This, the way it worked out, it's fine. They are continuing to invest in older players at the position, and I wouldn't do that. I would go younger. All that being said, I love Alvin Kamara. I'm rooting for him. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he proves a lot of people wrong that, he's talking about in this podcast where he says, hey, you know what? I don't want to be thought of like that. Okay.
Super admirable that a guy just wants to play for one team. We
right.
asked for that.
That's why I hate to criticize here. It's not his fault. Okay, he's playing as hard as he can, as long as he can, and he wants to do it for one team. Good for him. My deal is more with the Saints and roster management and
go
cap
find
management.
Cam Jordans and Alvin Kamara's around the league. You're not going to find many.
No. Most everybody's chasing the bag. We are at Bally's Sportsbook and Casino, downtown Baton Rouge, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. At United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business, all the way from initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments. United Community Bank is here for you. Prentice Wilkes, Heath Muir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. Stop on by and discuss how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Bally's. We're also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors. When it comes to retirement, listen, the answers that we've had gotten from Coastal Capital to the questions that we had when it came time to put together a plan, I couldn't have been more pleased with. Talk to Phil Fontenot and his staff, and when you sit down, all of those questions that you have about how you want to attack that plan for retirement, no matter what your age or your income level, I think you're going to be very pleased with the results. A full-service financial advisor, coastalcapitaladv.com is the website to set up that initial appointment and talk about your goals. Talk about, just because you're putting money away doesn't mean that you're doing it at the optimum level or that it is going to line up for where you want to retire and what you're expecting when that day comes. Let Coastal Capital Advisors handle that for you and answer all of your questions. CoastalCapitalADV.com, Coastal Capital Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. We got a 65 in the clubhouse, Max, at the Open as they winding down here. Actually, they got a pretty good ways to go, a lot of these guys, but we're pretty deep into it on day one.
Yeah, Jackson Suber, the 26-year-old, typically a pretty good ball striker. I mean, he finished 6th place at his last event at the John Deere. He finishes with a back nine 31. That's 5 under par. It's a par 34 on the front, 36, both the par 5s on the back nine. And he eagled 17, just the third eagle of the day. All have been on that 17th hole. And so, it's a great back nine for him. So he's at 5 under, one by himself, one shot over Sungjae M, Dan Brown, and Pearson Cootie, who's still on the course. Dan Brown, the only Englishman currently in the top 10. Fitting that his name is Brown, considering the course is very browned out. But I don't know if England, was up late at night. The golfers were watching the match last night and a little disappointed. But it's been a little bit of a slow start for some of the Englishmen, including Matt Fitzpatrick, our consensus pick, who did just make a birdie, almost made a hole-in-one, actually, on a par 3. So he finally got on the board with the birdie. He is 1 over for the day. Not an Englishman, but Northern Irishman. Rory McIlroy is off to a very rough start, and it's been all at the hands of the flat stick. The putter has been very, very poor over the last 6 holes or so. He's bogeyed 10 and 11 after, he hit 5 greens, 7 greens, 5 fairways on the front 9. So he's been pretty solid with the full swing, but he just cannot figure out the putter today. So we'll see if he can get home at a reasonable score, but he is 3 over through 12 holes. That's currently in 115th place.
Sam Burns, it's been pretty quiet, and that's not altogether a bad thing. He is even par through 13, one birdie, one bogey on the front. So for a guy who we didn't know was going to play in this tournament until, what 3 or 4 or 5 days ago?
Literally when he showed up Monday, we were like, okay, I guess he's playing. He hadn't taken his name out, but we weren't really sure. It wasn't really reported if he was going to play. Apparently the second kid came a little early, so he had a little bit more time. He said that he would not be here except for it being the Open, but I think a big part of that is his form is so good, right? He had to be itching to play in this. Timing wasn't going to work out, but it has worked out. You'd have to imagine that his preparation was certainly affected for this tournament. Didn't play in the Scottish last week. Probably hasn't played a whole lot leading up to this event, but showed up on Monday, and this is a decent first round. He's been in control. One bogey, one birdie. He just parred a par 5, which is a little unfortunate, but he'll have a chance on the par 5 17th as well. So controlled, overall. And Burns, honestly, if anything, right now his putter is holding him back a little bit, which you would expect to right the ship at this point. He hasn't been the best links player traditionally, but also remember he wasn't a very good major player up until the last couple of years, so I wouldn't take too much away from that. We'll see if he can get in the house at under par, red figures, but it's a good round for him, I would say, considering the circumstances.
Looking for his first top 30 at the Open. And your current favorite right now down here at Bally's, you're getting 5-1 on Scotty Scheffler, who shot 2 under, for the day, 68. He was out early this morning.
Yeah, and he said he felt he played better than he scored, and I kind of agree. He got off to such a great start, but even the way that he came in, the couple bogeys, it felt like he was going to get back to that 3 or 4 under mark, and he just never did. So he played very well. You got to give him credit. Came off the miscut last week, a shocking miscut at the Scottish, but maybe that helped him prepare this course a little bit more. He got to get out here a little bit earlier. He played some of the other courses that the players love to play while they're over here. So I think a rightful favorite, considering Rory's out of the mix. I think Cam Young right now, he's about 10-1. He has played outstanding right now. Didn't really consider him much, but you think back to the most similar link setup to this where it was dried out. It was St. Andrews in 2022, and he was very much in the conversation. He drove the green on the last hole, and I think lost by 1 to Cam Smith that week, finished runner-up. So Cam Young, I think, makes some sense. And Siwoo Kim, who has very much struggled at major championships, he had a very good round in control. He finished 2 under par, 68. He is 30-1 right now. I think maybe worth a consideration despite his very poor track record in major championships. 2
most surprising rounds of the day, one good, one bad. On the good end, Bryson DeChambeau 3 under par, 67,
yes.
And Justin Rose on the bad side +5, shot 75 today. Yesterday at this time, we would have suggested that those 2 scores might have been reversed.
I agree. I totally agree. I would have. If you told me those 2, I would have flipped those. But I'll tell you, Rose, 5 over. He's not that far off of missing the cut. A decent round tomorrow, and he can still make the weekend. So maybe worth playing, a top 20 placement or something, because it is shocking the way he played today. It is.
He just
surprising.
missed a bunch of putts. I mean, I don't know what you got to see.
Chipping kind of let him down. Wedge
okay.
play. But, he can bounce back. If he makes the weekend, he can get himself in contention once again. I don't think he can win anymore, but I think he can at least finish top 20, top 40, something like that.
All right. They continue at Royal Birkdale with the Open Championship. We'll take a break, come back, wrap things up here at Bally Sportsbook and Casino, downtown Baton Rouge. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we'll return here at Bally's live at lunch, watching the Open, watching the other. Where else are they playing? This nice lush green course.
This is in the Dominican Republic. It's the Corrales Punta Cana. Now, why exactly they're having a PGA Tour event opposite the Open Championship, I'll never understand. But they've done this for a few years now. I don't know how anyone watches it or cares. I did bet on it. I'll raise my hand. I'm a degenerate. But there's some golf.
I have an answer for you. No lie. These events that they have put up against the Open are wildly popular among the players that are not qualified for the Open, or the ones that just don't want to go through the expense of going. We're talking about the guys that are struggling to make it on the tour. This is an opportunity for them to make a lick with the big guns out of the country.
No doubt. This is catering to the bottom half of the PGA Tour. Now,
on your TV thing, yes, I'm completely with you.
Whether the fans care, I mean, does the PGA Tour ultimately need the tournament like this? Do you have to cater to the bottom feeders? I don't know, but you've got Joel Damon, you've got some players who people would respect. Who people root for, I guess, they're out there that didn't make the cut for the Open, but I don't know. It's
you are having a tournament that the bottom half of your card carrying members like. You're going to a place where they might have a hard time breaking the PGA Tour rotation any other time of the year. So you get that. It doesn't look like a bad place to visit. It's really pretty.
No, I mean, no disrespect to the Dominican Republic or the Corrales Punta Cana or any players who are playing in it. I've
talked to people that have vacation there. It's very nice.
Sure. It doesn't
nice.
bring much value to the PGA Tour. Do fans just clamor to watch this after the Open? I mean, I guess it's something to have on the Golf Channel on Sunday after the Open finishes. We normally see that.
No, nobody's watching.
The timeline is a little bit different.
Nobody's watching.
But yes, you're right. Nobody's really watching.
If you go you get your research together, make a pick tomorrow. So we'll have something to do Sunday afternoon.
I took 5 guys. Alejandro Del Rey is one back at 6 under par. If he's in the mix on Sunday, I will be watching.
I'll probably watch it. I'll be watching soccer mostly on Sunday afternoon.
No doubt.
But we'll watch a little bit of this.
I will say, there was a chance they were going to have to move tee times up on the Open, the final round. If England made it, they were concerned about fans leaving early for watch parties and things. They don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
anymore.
well, that ship has sailed. Major League Baseball gets back tonight after the All-Star break. Only one game, but it is Aaron Nola going for the Phillies tonight. Better in his last 2. It's been a rough year for Nola. The ERA is up at 5.75, but this is the first month that he has had an ERA under 4, at least for a couple of starts. The last 2 starts have been better for him. But it has been a rough year overall. So we'll see if Nola can get it back going tonight against the Mets. Okay, this is everybody's favorite team to play when you're trying to get it going. You play the Mets.
I was going to say, you think Nola's had a rough year? I think the Mets have had a rougher year.
The Mets have certainly had a more expensive year with what they're trying to accomplish anyway. So that is where we are here at Bally's. Listen, fantastic giveaways all summer long with their Summer Sizzler with over $100,000 in cash being given away in parts. You can come in here. Also, their Fab 50, the club for 50-plus, get 5 times the points right now here at Bally's. Very easy to park in the garage booth across the breezeway here to the sports book and out in front with the valet services if you're at the hotel. Easy in here to get a cocktail, sit down, great vantage points, the best screen that you're going to see anywhere. Come on in here and watch it at Bally's. Tomorrow we're at Rufino's. Have a great weekend, a great afternoon, everybody, and stay tuned for Hunt 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.